Myself, Dr. Devendra Singh, Department of Entomology, College of Agriculture Sciences, Teethankar Mahavi University, Muradabad. Today we are going to discuss about the history of entomology in India. Man originated about a million years ago, an insect at least 500 million years ago. Insect constitute the largest class of the whole living organisms, and about 72% of all living animals are insect with 9 to 15 lakh known species. Now the question raises, what is the entomology? So we know that entomology is taken from a Greek word, that is entomon, means insect, and logos means study. It means the entomology is the scientific study of insect, a branch of zoology. It aims uh, at understanding their body organization and functions, their habitat, their habit, and their classification, development, distribution, origin, past history, economic importance, etc. Now we can divide the agriculture entomology in two categories: basic entomology and applied entomology. Basic entomology deals with the insect morphology, anatomy, physiology, taxonomy, and systematics. And the applied entomology deals with ecology and economic importance and control of insects. There are a lot of mentions about insect in our mythological epics. The Ramayana 2550 to 2150 BC and Mahabharata 1424 to 1366 BC mention about silk honey and lake performed in these epics. The first detailed classification of insect was done by Umaswati 0 to 100 AD. Classification of bees by the Indian physician Charka 1200 to 1000 BC, and classification of ant, flies and mosquito by the surgeon Susutru 100 to 200 AD are the evidences for our earliest knowledge about insect. Entomology in modern India have taken its place in natural history sometime after the 16th century. Modern history of entomology in India may be defined under the following two headings. One is the entomology in India during 1750 to 1900. So 1758, the beginning of the modern era of Indian entomology, came with the publication of the 10th edition of Carl Linnaeus Systema Naturae. This contained the earliest record of 28 species of Indian insects. In 1767 to 1779, J.G. Coing, a medical officer from Denmark, a student of Carl Linnaeus and friend of Fabricius, for the first time during the 18th century, collected number of insects from Coromandel area and southern peninsula India, and his collections were studied and named by Professor Linnaeus himself. He also published a special account of the termites of Tanjore district. Fabricius made Coining's name remembered for every naming the well-known. In 1782, Dr. Kerr published on account of black insect. In 1785, Asiatic Society of Bengal started in Calcutta. In 1791, Dr. J. Anderson issued a monograph on cochineal skill insect. In 1875, foundation of the Indian Museum at Kolkata. In 1883, Bombay Natural History Society was started. Numerous contributions of Indian insect were published in the Journal of the Bombay Natural History. In 1892, entomological part of the Fauna of British India, presently Fauna of India, series started by Sir George Hampson, contributed first of the 4 volumes on the moth of India. In 1893, Rothne published on Indian ants, H. Biological Pest Control in India, For example, white ants' attack on stationary items was kept free by red ants. Entomology in India during 1900 to 2000. 1901, Lionel de Niceville was posted as the first entomologist to the government of India. In 1903, Professor Maxwell Lefroy succeeded Niceville as government entomologist. In 1905, establishment of Empirical Agriculture Research Institute at Pusa, Bihar, and Professor Lefroy became the first imperial entomologist. In 1906, Indian insect pest by Professor Lefroy. In 1909, Indian insect life by Professor Lefroy. In 1912, Plant Quarantine Act was enforced. In 1914, the Respiratory Insect and Pest Act was enforced. In 1914, Indian Forest Insect of Economic Importance, Coleoptera was published by the first Imperial Forest entomologist E.P. Stevin. In 1916, Imperial Forest Research Institute was established at Dehradun and E.P. Stevin was appointed as forest zoologist. In 1916, the Natural History section of the Indian Museum was formed as the Zoological Survey of India. In 1921, Indian Central Cotton Committee to investigate on pest of cotton. In 1925, Indian Lake Research Institute started. In 19 First president of the Entomological Society of India was Afzal Hussain and the vice president was Hem Singh Pruthi and Ramakrishna Iyer. Indian Journal of Entomology is the official publication of the society. In 1939, Locust Warning Organization was established. In 1940, Dr. T.V. Ramakrishna Iyer published the Handbook of Economic Entomology for South India. In 1969, Dr. Pradhan Insect Pest of Crops. In 1946, Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage of Pest by the Government of India started. In 1960, the Desert Locust in India, monograph by Baya Rao. In 1968, the Government of India enacted Central Insecticide Act, which came into force from 1st January 1971. In 1969, the monograph on Indian Thanasoptera was published by Dr. T. N. Ananthakrishna. Thanks for